Welcome to this month's Wellbeing webinar. We're talking today about the importance of routines for health and wellness. My name is Sage Musson. I am a Kinetic Health Program Manager and Registered Dietitian here at Apex Benefits. And today I'm joined by my colleague, Andrea.
Hi, I'm Andrea Hickel, and I am a Kinetic Health Program Specialist here at Apex Benefits, as well as a licensed clinical social worker.
Yeah, and like I said, today we're going to be talking about the importance of routines for health and well-being. I think this is a topic that both Andrea and I love. We have our separate routines, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But we want to offer this information up to you all so that you know how you can incorporate routines into your everyday lives or maybe every once in a while to help with your health and well-being.
All right, so we're going to start out by just kind of going through a basic agenda of what we're going to be talking about here today. We're going to start out with giving you a rundown of what even is a routine, what qualifies as a routine, and then we're going to dive into both the physical and mental health benefits of keeping a routine. And so we'll tackle that. We'll also give you some tips and tricks on how to start your own routines if you want to walk away from this presentation and feel inspired to start your own routines. We'll give you some ways you can do that. And then I'm going to break down morning routines and what those can look like. And Sage is going to break down some evening routines and what that can look like. And then we will allow time for you guys to reach out to us if you have any questions after watching this presentation.
Great. All right, so first off, I just kind of wanted to address what a routine is. I'm sure we've all heard about routines. You have a loose idea of what they are. But in general, it is the usual series of things you do at a particular time or the practice of regularly doing things in a fixed order. So some routines are large, some are small, but either way, they help provide structure and organization to everyday life. And so I kind of want to address the difference between a habit and a routine as well, because I think sometimes those get used interchangeably.
Yeah.
So the difference between a habit and a routine is a habit is something that it's almost something that you do on autopilot. You don't really have to think about it, and it's something that you do in response to a trigger. So a great example of this is I shower in the evenings, and afterwards I just brush my teeth. It's not even something I think about doing. It's just something that's triggered by the end of my shower. I brush my teeth, and that's that. I don't even have to think about it. Whereas maybe you include a morning run every day in your morning routine. That's probably not something you do on autopilot. It's probably something you kind of have to make yourself do.
Yeah.
So that is more of a routine. It's part of your routine. So that's kind of the difference. And sometimes, yeah, we do use them interchangeably, but there is a subtle difference between habits and routines. But a lot of times, habits make up routines. So we'll talk a little bit about how to kind of incorporate those into your routines and some resources as well.
Yeah, for sure. So we did want to break down some different types of routines because we're going to be talking a lot about morning and evening routines, which there's a reason for that. We're really passionate about our morning and evening routines, and morning and evening routines are great. They're, the way that we start the day and the way that we end the day. But I don't want you guys to walk away from this thinking that there aren't other things that you can do to create different types of routines. So there are study routines for those that might be in school or when you were in school. For me, with studying or lifelong learning, I still try to incorporate that into my routine. So I do Duolingo every morning as a part of my morning routine. So that's included in studying. There are work routines. So the way that you go about your work day, obviously it might look different day to day, but there's still going to be certain things that you do throughout your work day that encompass those routines. Exercise routines. You might be wanting to get onto a fitness journey or work on your health and wellness in that way. And so that's a routine in and of itself as well, something you have to make intentional effort with. And then another example is family routines. So how are you spending your weekends or your evenings or before work and school? What does that look like as a family unit? And a lot of times maybe we can work on tweaking that to make healthy habits for the whole family. So there's a variety of different ways that you can encompass routines. So I want you guys to walk away today knowing that and knowing that there are different things you can do.
Right, and those are going to look different for every person.
For sure.
Well.
Yeah.
So the role of routines on our physical health. I included 5 main benefits here when it comes to physical health and routines. So first we have healthy eating habits. As a dietitian, this is something that I talk with a lot of people about. How can we create a routine around healthy eating? So whether that's your grocery shopping plan or meal planning, there's always ways to create routines around these so that you have those healthy eating habits. Same thing with regular physical activity or exercise. A lot of people help or try to build routines around that to incorporate physical activity into their everyday lives. Improved and consistent sleep. This is something I'll talk a little bit more about when I talk about a nighttime routine, but sleep is very, very important for pretty much every aspect of our lives. And so it's always important that we have a good nighttime routine and morning routine to help make sure that we're getting enough sleep and we're getting good quality sleep as well. So that's definitely a physical health benefit. And then there's also proper hygiene and routine preventive care. And with routine preventive care, this is something I point out that sometimes routines aren't every day, right? You're not doing preventive care probably every single day, but you may be doing it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, even yearly basis. So routines aren't always going to be every day. You may have them a little bit more spread out, but either way, still a benefit for our physical health.
For sure. That's something that I didn't think about too when it comes to routines, is that it doesn't have to be every day. And some of that preventative care too is, I was thinking like, I go to the dentist every 6 months. That's another thing that you do as a preventative measure, right? Within a certain cadence, and it's a routine, but it's not every day or even every week.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah, for sure. So now looking at what are some mental health benefits of keeping a routine. So we often talk about how routines are really good for children, which they really are, but they're also really good for us as adults, and they help our emotional and mental well-being in a lot of different ways. That's really what got me passionate about routines, is because keeping routine and schedule helps me a lot with my anxiety and my stress levels. And that's one of the main benefits I put here. So I put keeping routines can help reduce stress and anxiety. It helps to support our emotional well-being. It helps to reduce decision fatigue. So if you think about, all the different things that you might have to make decisions about throughout the day, when you're just able to have a routine and have a structure of how you do things, it takes out that work there.
I love that. Like frees up space in your mind.
For sure, because that could be a lot. Provide structure and stability. So again, we need that as adults as well, to keep us feeling a sense of comfort within our environment. And then it helps to foster social connections. So it helps us to prioritize those social connections with other people, and also prioritize leisure and social activities that we enjoy.
Yeah, so when it comes to developing routines and habits, we're always going to have barriers. Each individual person is going to have different barriers. So I included some that I hear from people most often when it comes to establishing these in their lives. And I would say the most common ones are the lack of time, the lack of motivation, resources, and support. So maybe you don't have supportive people in your life to help you make sure that you're establishing these types of healthy routines. Maybe you just don't know where to start or what resources are at your availability. But a lot of times I hear time. And then along with that, there's unexpected life changes. So again, things are always going to come up. We have to stay flexible, which Andrea is going to talk about in a little bit as far as strategies go. And then also just feeling overwhelmed and burnt out. Like I said, we all have different things going on in your life. So I think it's really important to kind of start with identifying your barriers. So what is really holding you back? And then how can we move forward with strategies to help you overcome those barriers?
For sure, for sure. So jumping into some tips and tricks on where to start. Walking away from today, maybe feeling inspired, hopefully, to start some routines of your own. What are some things we recommend? One of the first things is to start small and to focus on one routine at a time. You don't want to jump into saying, okay, I'm going to build a whole morning routine or a whole work routine that you're not used to. That's going to be hard to maintain. So start with one thing at a time, one habit or one facet of the routine at a time. So for me, a big thing that I'll talk about with morning routines is hydration. So maybe it's I'm going to drink a glass of water every morning when I wake up, and I'll keep a glass of water by my bed, and I'll try to do that consistently for a month. And if I do that, then I'll add in something else. That goes to our second tip, which is consistency. In order to be successful with routine, you need to do it consistently. And so it's recommended that you try to do the routine at the same time every day. and add it on to things you already do. So again, it could be some of those triggers like you talked about of, okay, I'm already showering, or I'm already, going to get into the car to commute to work. So I'm going to add something onto that. Whatever it may be, something that you already do on kind of autopilot, adding part of that new routine or structure into that will help you to remember and trigger that response. Set clear and achievable goals. So make sure that you're looking at routine that's going to fit your lifestyle and where you are. I might look at Sage's routine and say, that just is not going to work for me, and that's totally okay, because everyone's at different places in life, has different, lifestyles, and so making sure that you're setting yourself up for success with that is important. Plan ahead. So we're going to definitely give you some resources to take away for being able to plan, but it's important that you make sure that you are leaving room for maybe some barriers that might come up, that you are allowing yourself to schedule these routines ahead of time so that you're setting yourself up for success. And then the final tip is to stay flexible, because as Sage mentioned, things come up, things change, and that's okay. That's inevitable. Finding ways that maybe you can fluctuate your routine a little bit as needed, or even just working on shifting your routine, saying maybe I didn't get to do it this day the way I want to, but I'm going to pick up the next day. That's okay as well. But being flexible is key.
Yeah, and I really like the tip of trying to basically add in things to things that you already do. I think that's really helpful with the consistency piece. And then like we talked about, just identifying those barriers ahead of time, that's planning ahead as well. So just kind of fitting these all in where they possibly can.
For sure. So looking into morning routines. So I love a good morning routine. I am more of a morning person, and so that got me into forming a good morning routine for myself. So I'm going to go over some tips and tricks that you might want to think about when you're trying to do your own morning routine. So the first thing is to have a consistent wake up time. I know that can be hard because we might have different schedules each day, especially varying from the weekends to the weekdays, but our body does really respond well when we are waking and going to sleep around the same time every night. That helps keeps our rhythm on track. So I would say, make sure that you are figuring out what time do I need to be up most mornings, and then not varying from that too much. So maybe it's, okay, I have to be up at this time during the weekdays, and I allow myself to sleep in an hour or so on the weekends. That's totally fine, but trying not to vary too much within your wake times. Another thing is starting with hydration. Like I said, that's a big thing for me. It helps to get us going in the morning. It can help to wake us up. And so making sure that you are setting yourself up for success with that. Most of us have, water bottles or things that we like to carry around. So it could be as simple as keeping that by your bed and then reminding yourself, okay, my alarm goes up, I'm going to sit up, and instead of maybe grabbing my phone, I'm going to grab my water bottle and take some water first thing in the morning. The next thing is to incorporate movement into your morning routine. Again, another good positive way to get your body going, get yourself waking up. And that doesn't have to be intense movement. It's not like you're getting up and running a 5K, but maybe just getting up, and again, instead of laying in bed and scrolling, getting out of the bed, going to your desk, and maybe doing some, simple stretches. And I'm not saying you still can't scroll while you're sitting up at the table or a desk, but getting yourself physically out of bed and trying to incorporate a little bit more movement can help you a lot in the morning. Incorporate that personal care. So making sure that you are adding in, again, some of those things that we might just think are habits or instinctual, but it's really important that you are still doing those personal care items such as skincare, brushing our teeth, showering, whatever you may need to do to take care of yourself in that way, adding that in the morning as well, and making time for yourself to do that can also help, again, with those stress levels as well. starting with a healthy breakfast. This is something that when I was younger, I skipped a lot, and I think a lot of us do, but it is really important that we are keeping some good breakfast items on hand, even if they're quick, items that can give us, protein or things that can keep us full, is a good way to start the morning that way. And then the final thing that I try to remind myself is to leave room for flexibility. So again, mornings might sometimes be chaotic. Things might happen. You might wake up late or have a child who's sick or an unexpected meeting come up, and that's okay. Try to still incorporate as much of your morning routine as you can, and then allow yourself to go on with your day.
Yeah, I think those are all great tips. When Andrea and I were working together to create this, we were kind of talking about, well, I know I could do better when it comes to a morning routine, and you were saying you could probably do a little bit better when it comes to a nighttime routine. But not to downplay the importance of a nighttime routine, but when I was doing some research, I saw that a lot of really successful people out there, they really harp on the importance of their morning routine, and they really credit a lot of their success to their morning routine. So it really helps them start their day right, leave time for themselves, plan for the day, and whatnot. So definitely a morning routine is very, very important. I am really passionate about my nighttime routine or my evening routine. So some tips for creating a nighttime routine. The first thing is putting away your electronic devices 30 to 60 minutes before laying down. And the reason for that is you've probably heard a lot about the light that these electronic devices put off. And so basically what that's telling your brain is that, it's still light out and it's not time for bed. So we really want to try to put those devices away to help our bodies kind of relax and get ready to go to sleep. So ideally once you get into bed and you have your head on that pillow, that's when you want to be like trying to go to sleep. You don't want to be doing anything once you're in bed. Which brings me to my next point. So turning on dim lights. Again, our bodies just kind of naturally react to a darker setting, and it kind of tells our brains, okay, we're getting ready for bed, we're getting ready for sleep. So try to turn on some dim lights, turn off the bright overhead lights, maybe turn on just like a bedside lamp or something like that to kind of get the lighting down. Our bodies naturally produce melatonin in response to darkness, which is really, really important for good sleep. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with those two tips. Andrea mentioned sticking to a time that you get up in the mornings. We also want to stick to a bedtime. So this is probably something for those of you who have kids. This is something that you follow pretty strictly for your kids. And we want that to be the same for us adults. It's really important to kind of get our body on a set kind of clock or rhythm. And so sticking to a bedtime is very important to kind of get our bodies into this normal rhythm and get you ready for sleep throughout the night. Some other tips to just kind of help your body relax and get ready for bed are try taking a hot bath or shower. Your body just in response to that the warmness is going to kind of relax. That usually helps a lot of people get ready for bed and get good sleep. You could also try reading a book. I know personally, like once I get the book out, it probably only takes about 5 to 10 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm ready to lay down and go to bed. Other people like to listen to relaxing music. Some people stretch or meditate. Meditation has gotten really big lately. There's a lot of helpful apps for that. So those are all things that could really help you just, again, relax and get ready for bed. I can't overstate the importance of sleep when it comes to pretty much every aspect of our lives. I talk to people, about weight loss or their exercise or just the way they're feeling, their energy, and sleep has a lot to do with it. It's one of the first things I typically address with people or take a closer look at. So always make sure that you have some type of nighttime routine incorporated every day.
Yeah, for sure.
So some resources, going back to that barrier slide that we had, some people just they have a lack of resources, so they don't really know where to start. So some of our big resources that we typically recommend to people are habit tracking apps. There's a lot of them out there. There's some that cost money and there's some that are free. They all have different ways that can be helpful for each person. So definitely just try some of those out, see what works best for you, see if it's even a resource that you want to try out, but that's definitely something we recommend to a lot of people. There's also books, and I pointed out specifically the Atomic Habits book. This was something I read not too long ago. It does mainly focus on how to form healthy habits and also how to identify some of your unhealthy habits. but it also focuses on how to incorporate those habits into a good routine and what a healthy routine looks like. So that's definitely a book I would recommend to pretty much anybody. There's also calendars and planners. Again, those can be electronic and also paper. I know Andrea is big on her paper calendars and planners. So just work with whatever works best for you. But again, there's probably apps out there for those as well. Or you can, buy a planner or print one off. I have just a printed free version that I use for work, for my work routine. So there's always options out there as well. And then lastly, I wanted to point out that podcasts can be a great resource. A lot of times, instead of listening to music while driving, some people put on a podcast. So there's a really great podcast by Mel Robbins. It's called A Toolkit for Creating the Perfect Morning Routine. So that really highlights some good tips from a lot of successful people on how to build a good morning routine. So those are all great resources that we typically recommend.
Yeah, I like all of those, and I would say for those paper people like me, with the habit tracker, I got a habit tracker for the whole year off of Amazon. I think it was like $10-15, and it was really cool to be able to check things off, gives that kind of satisfying feeling. And then same with the calendars and planners, you can find great versions there as well. I would also say looking on like Etsy, you can get a lot of very cheap like printouts and cool templates too to check out.
Yeah, a lot of great resources.
And then this is an additional resource I wanted to add in for you guys. This is a self-care action plan. So if adding in self-care to your routine is something that you are wanting to work on, maybe you notice that's something that's lacking in some of your day-to-day routine, this is some questions and things for you to think about, to brainstorm. And we'll be sharing this slide deck so you guys can look at this, print it out, and fill this out on your own to help you get some ideas of ways to incorporate self-care better into your routines as well.
And lastly, we are resources as well. So if you ever have any questions, feel free to email us, reach out. We're always happy to help or try to help, whatever questions you have. So never hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is all for this month's webinar. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you got some really helpful tips, and have a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye.